Antonia Romacher, and on this channel I study 2 languages. I post my English classes on Mondays and my Russian classes on Wednesdays. Today we are studying Russian, and we're going to talk about the way Russian verbs change. So how Russian verbs change their forms as to tenses, persons, numbers. Well, by the way, the inflection of verbs by persons, numbers, genders, and tenses is called conjugation. So basically, we're going to talk about conjugations today. There are 2 types, by the way. So this must all sound very frightening. Verbs change their forms. Well, by persons, by numbers, by genders, by tenses, crazy. No, it's not. Do not worry. We're going to work on that little by little. So today we're going to study some basics. In Russian, there are 2 types of these changes. So verbs are divided into 2 groups according to the way they change their forms. So we have the first conjugation and the second conjugation. By the way, they are usually written like that. So, as for the first conjugation, let's start with it. It's quite logical. By the way, before we start, I need to say that if the stress falls on the ending of the verb, then you can identify its conjugation type by this letter that you hear. So it can be defined orally, but if the stress doesn't fall on the ending, then we should define the conjugation by the indefinite form or infinitive. So now we are ready to talk about both conjugations. Let's start with the first one. So infinitive forms end in the following letters, groups of letters. So the first conjugation type verbs in the infinitive have the following endings: еть, ать, оть, уть, ять, ыть, т. Notice that some of the endings are marked with an asterisk. It means that there are exceptions, but we are going to study them a little bit later when we will talk about the second conjugation. Anyway, however, most of these verbs ending like this are the first type conjugation. So, there are also some verbs ending in ить. Let's try to memorize them. Брить, стелить, бить, лить, пить, шить, жить. There are some others, but I've decided to mention those which are most frequently used. So try to memorize these because they are quite useful. Once again, брить, spelled man. Стелить, spread. Бить, лить, пить, шить, жить, live, a very important verb. So, these verbs of the first conjugation type in present have the following forms. Let's conjugate them. Today we're going to study just present, the way they change their forms in present. We're going to take a look at different persons, first, second, and third, and, well, singular and plural. So we say, я, we have the ending у or you. Ты, ending ешь. Он, она, оно, ед. Мы, ем. Вы, ете. Они, ut or ют. For example, let's take the verb жить, a very important one. We say я живу. Ты живешь. Он живет. Она живет. Оно живет. For example, an animal. Животное. Мы живем. By the way, ем, о, ем. Живем. Вы живете. The same. Ете, о, ете. Они живут. Okay, now let's take another verb, and your job will be to conjugate it. For example, let's say дуть. Here you should take out the ending t and add the endings which you have here. So try to conjugate this verb дуть. Now take a look at how I do it. Я дую. Ты дуешь. Он дует. Она дует. Оно дует. Мы дуем. Вы дуете. Они дуют. By the way, notice that the root of the verb ends in u, and we can't say u. It's never used like that. To u does not appear in a word. That's why we say do you. Дуют. Okay, so let's continue. Now we're going to talk about the second conjugation. So, in infinitive, these verbs have ending it, except the verbs I mentioned when I was talking about the first type conjugation. So, apart from those verbs, all the other ones belong to the second conjugation. So then also there are some verbs ending in yet. I have mentioned that. Most of the verbs ending in yet are of the first conjugation, but there are some which are the second, and we are going to study them right now. So we have блестеть, болеть, видеть, глядеть, гореть, звенеть, греметь, гудеть, зависеть, звенеть, кипеть, лететь, ненавидеть, обидеть, свистеть, сидеть, скрипеть, смотреть, терпеть, храпеть, шуметь. Once again, I didn't give you all the verbs. I didn't pronounce them all, just the most frequently used ones. However, there are just a couple of more. And also some verbs ending in ать. Let's take a closer look. Визжать, ворчать, гнать, дышать, держать, дрожать, кричать, лежать, молчать, слышать, спать, стучать, шуршать. And a couple of verbs ending in ять. Стоять, бояться. Стоять, бояться. Like stand still and be scared of me. Kidding. So that's the list. Now let's conjugate. Sorry, before we conjugate, we need to study the endings used in present. So let's take a look. Я, у, ю. Ты, иш. Он, она, оно, ит. Мы, им. Вы, ите. Они, ат, ят. Now let's conjugate one of the verbs. For example, let's choose видеть. We say я вижу, ты видишь, он видит, она видит, оно видит, мы видим, вы видите, они видят. Okay, now let's conjugate another verb, говорить. We have already talked about it, so it should be familiar. Now try to conjugate this verb yourself. So a little advice, we use you in first person singular and we use ят in third person plural. So now conjugate the verb, говорить. Take away the ending t, it, and make it. So, let's check. Я говорю. Ты говоришь. Он говорит. Она говорит. Мы говорим. Вы говорите. Они говорят. Okay. So, there are also verbs which are called, to tell the truth, I'm not sure even how to pronounce that, heteroclitic verbs. So they have both forms. I mean to say that they can have half of the forms of the first conjugation and half of the forms of the second conjugation. Or they can have both forms, and these forms can be used equally. For example, half and half, it would be бежать, хотеть, and both forms equally would be чтить, so you can say чтут, чтят equally, сыпать, трепать, щипать. We are going to talk about these verbs in my next lessons. So we're going to keep discussing conjugations. We're going to practice defining conjugations and conjugating the verbs ourselves. So we're going to keep practicing. Do not worry, it will get clearer, it will be fun, it will be great. You will master Russian conjugations. For now, just remember some general information. There are two types, and remember the forms which are used. Try to remember some of the verbs which are only, the first and the second. So try to remember the general information and we will practice. But that's it for today. I hope that today you studied something new and you enjoyed this video lesson. If you did, please like the video and share it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So help me develop this project so that I could help more people and more people could study Russian and English with me. But that's it for today. Hope to see you soon. Happy Russian and English practice. Bye bye. By the way, have you noticed that today I have my hair in a braid? It's traditional Russian. It looks Russian. However, my braid is not that long yet, but I guess that I will keep growing it. Well, I want to cut it, but some people tell me that I shouldn't. What do you think? What do you think?